strain. Was it a bicycle? What is wrong with my brain? Is it the end of me? No, I must still believe. So I'm still alive, you see. Heck yeah, now I'm on my way. But let's stay focused, there's still a job in hand that we must do. Cameras start to click, we know what create is something new. So go Marty and Sarah and Mark and Matt, Owen, Smitty, McCrilly and Jamie Lane in the Archer County Band. The Archer County Band. The Archer County Band. The Archer County Band. Stop the clock, we're done, we're rolling. Sound the horn and sing that we are going. 27 hours, that is the time. So let's hop on the bus and let it shine, 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 shine. Say sha la 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 la, 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 sha la 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 la. Good morning, folks. You are very welcome to Bandido Talks. We are back with episode 36, part of our 3-part series, When Your Dad Dies. We are on part 2, Remember Your Friends. We had a really good show yesterday. It was the first show back after a little break. Of course, for those of you who may not be aware, the Bandido had a little significant event. And I say a little significant event. Perhaps there's a contradiction in my own words. But the significant event was, of course, the Bandido's father, the great Mattie Lennon, has passed on. He passed away just over a week ago. And so we decided that we were going to do a 3-part series, a special 3-part series called When Your Dad Dies. We had part 1 yesterday and it was a really good show. Part 1. What was it all about? No regrets. And we went for over 2 hours. 2 hours we went for, talking all things no regrets. And it was an excellent show. There were lots of lessons to extract from our part 1. So I would encourage you to check it out. It will be on a little special playlist. We will have all 3 parts of this series. When they are completed, they will exist on this little playlist for all of eternity. I would encourage you to check out part 1. Really good stuff. We're going to have a really good show this morning. Part 2, Remember your friends. Of course, before we get into it, folks, feel free to like the stream. If you find this sort of stuff interesting, give us a little thumbs up. Your charity will always be welcome. Of course, if you are joining us live, get into the live chat. Your engagement with the show is also welcome. We enjoy whenever you folks leave your comments, leave your insights. We had quizzed 22. We had Jay in the live chat yesterday morning/afternoon. So get into the live chat. Let me know what you think as we go through the show. Of course, if you are watching the live event after it has concluded, get down into the comments section. Let me know what you think about everything that we are going to talk about. And then finally, folks, if you like what we do in general here at Bandido Talks, if you find it interesting, insightful, valuable, or interesting in some way, then feel free to subscribe to the channel. We have lots of content coming your direction. We are active on 2 separate platforms. We are live on Rumble from Monday to Thursday at 11 a.m. and we are live here on YouTube every Friday through to Sunday at 11 a.m. also. So you have a live show every day on 2 separate platforms. Monday to Thursday on Rumble, Friday to Sunday on YouTube. You will always find the Bandido live here at 11 a.m. Irish time. Of course, we have our live streams. We have all sorts of little bits and pieces dropping here on the channel. Perhaps some original music coming soon. It's in the pipeline, folks. Lots of stuff will be coming your direction. Subscribe to the channel and you will be notified of all new live streams, all new uploads. And so with that, folks, all out of the road, let us get into this morning's show. When Your Dad Dies, Part 2. Remember your friends. Now, yesterday, as I said, we talked all things no regrets. So we're not going to really, let's just say, go over all of that ground yesterday. We had a really long show, a really productive show, over 2 hours. If you want to know what the lie of the land is with respect to having no regrets and giving your absolute best, then check out yesterday morning's live show. It has, of course, been posted as a live replay. This morning, though, it's part 2. Remember your friends. And of course, we are going to extract lessons out of this. We are going to use the Bandido as a live case study because it is the Bandido's father, Mattie Lennon, who has passed recently in the last week. So you folks are going to get to benefit from the Bandido's experience. And we're all going to try and learn something here in our own existence from this particular situation. So part 2, remember your friends. Now, why did I call part 2, remember your friends? So let's try and lay this out. And we're going to lay it out and see where are the lessons for this particular part of our series. Now, what shall I say first? Well, how about we start with what happens when someone dies? Here in Ireland, and I understand in different parts of the world, this is going to be different. Here in Ireland, we have these things called wakes. Then we have a funeral. And so at the moment, the Bandido has passed through basically 3 days of a wake and then 1 day of a funeral. Now let me go down through some of this because there are important things to extract from this process that we go through here in Ireland with a wake and a funeral. Now, I want to make something very clear from my own perspective. I do not, with a capital N, I do not like wakes or funerals. I never go to them, ever. So it doesn't matter who has died, I never go to wakes and funerals. Now, over the last week, I did break my rule of wakes and funerals. I went to my own father's wake and funeral. I didn't want to go. And the reason that I didn't want to go isn't the reason that you may think. It wasn't because I was overcome with sadness. It wasn't because I could not hold my emotions together. Nothing like that. I'll tell you the reason why I do not like wakes and funerals. Let's start with wakes. So my dad, Mattie Lennon, he knew a lot of people, perhaps even more people than I realized. And so what happens at a wake? You have a whole bunch of people, in this case, coming into Mattie's house. Lots of people, probably over 1,000 people, entered Mattie's house over the 3-day wake period. Now I understand, here in Ireland, it is normal and natural to have a wake where you stay up all night with the body. Now, what I am saying here is from my own personal perspective. If you like to go to wakes and you like all of that stuff, that is fine. I really don't care. I'm speaking from my own perspective. I do not like them. And so, across this 3-day wake period, basically from, let's say, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday last week, across this period, over 1,000 people entered into Mattie's house. And they come in, and I probably spent, and I normally never do this, and the only reason that I did it, the only reason that I went to the wake, or even the funeral, was because it was a signal of support for my mother. That is it. Nobody else. It was solely for my mother. So no other reason. So I decided to break that rule. I normally don't go to wakes and funerals for reasons that I'm going to explain right now, and it's very related to our episode this morning. But I broke my rule and said, okay, for my mother's sake, it was her life's companion of nearly 40 years. So I thought, okay, these are unusual circumstances. So I thought, let's give a signal of support. And that's what I did. So I probably spent about a combined total of 10 hours across those 3 days of the week. So about 10 hours. And most of that period of time, most of those 10 hours were spent in the room with the coffin and the body and next to my mother. So I wasn't going throughout the house talking to a whole bunch of people. I was in the room with the coffin, with the body, next to my mother. That's where I was for most of the time that I spent at the wake across those 3 days. Why was I there in the room with my mother? For the very reason that I've just said. It was a signal of support to her. Okay, now, as I've already said, perhaps over 1,000 people entered Mattie's house and my mother's house over that 3-day period. Now, here's why I don't like wakes. Let's get straight into this. I do not like wakes because 90%, this would be my estimate, 90% of people who come through the door, who go into the room with the coffin and shake hands with my mother and me, 90% of people are either there because, number one, they are nosy and they want something to do. They want to get into the house. They want to have a look around. They are bored out of their bollocks. All they do is go to wakes and funerals. So they are there because they are nosy and they are gossips. That is one class of people. The second class of people are those who feel obligated to go. They don't really want to go, but they feel obligated to go on behalf of someone else. So they are signaling to other people other than the dead person or the family. They are going because of obligation. They have to go. If they had their way, if they managed to wriggle their way out of going, they would. But they feel obligated, and they have to go. So they aren't there because they want to be there, but because they feel obligated. That's a second class of people who will be at a wake like this. Now, 90% of people who go to wakes are really made up of those two types of people. The people who are going because they are nosy and they are gossips, or people who feel obligated. They feel that it is their duty that they have to go. That is 90% of people who are going to wakes. Now, there is a 10% of people who legitimately are going to pay their respects to the deceased person and to pay their respects to the family. So there is about 10% of people who are going for what we are going to call a sincere, honourable reason. And so they go, they do what they have to do, they are there for a sincere reason. There's honesty behind their actions. That's about 10%. Now, why am I saying this? Now, you may say, that's unfair. Your numbers are all wrong. It's not 90% of people who are nosy gossips or who feel obligated to go. You're wrong, Mr. Bandido. Well, I don't really care what you think about my numbers, because in my experience, I'm not talking on behalf of anybody else. I'm talking from my experience of literally what has happened over the last 8 days. 90% of people who I met at the wake were either nosy, gossips, or obligated to be there. They come into the room. Oh, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss. They are on autopilot. They are not really sorry for my loss. They will go home. They will forget about everything that has happened. They won't really think about it in a week. They are going there because they are nosy, or they are there because of some duty or obligation to somebody else who wants them to go. And here they are in front of me, giving me their empty words, their autopilot response. They aren't even thinking. I can stare at them. And I did. I stared right at these people, and they could barely look me in the eye. They'd just kind of go, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss. They're not even thinking. Complete autopilot. They are not present. They are not there because they want to be there. They are not there for an honourable reason. And so that's why I don't like wakes, because I'm dealing with a whole bunch of strangers whose motivation for being there is not pure. It's some other motivation. And then, yes, you meet the 10% of people who are actually there for a genuine reason. There's an honesty behind why they are there. And that's fine. But they are small in number. And this is just a general theme of wakes. It's why I do not go to them. Because they are garbage. And when I say they are garbage, I don't mean the wake itself is garbage. I very much understand why wakes exist in this form. Wakes can be a good way to lift someone's spirit. It can be a good way so that the person or the people who are involved don't feel alone at a difficult time. I understand why the wake happens. Maybe, again, if you are religiously inclined, you maybe have religious reasons why you want a wake. That's fine. I understand all of that. But from my own perspective, when I deal with people in this life, I do not want to be dealing with people who are gossips, who are nosy, or who are on autopilot and talking to me out of obligation or duty to someone else or for some other reason. I do not want to deal with people in this world who are like that, Because you know what they do? They waste my time. And my time is precious. And it's for that reason I don't go to wakes. Another reason why I don't go to wakes is because most of the people who are dead at a wake, I don't even know them. And it goes back to what I've already said. Why would I go to a wake when I didn't even know the person who has died? Oh, well, you should go because you know the wife of the person, or you're friends with the grandchildren, or you're friends with their friend of their friend of their friend. Bollocks. Absolute bollocks. That is not how I live my life. I do not live my life through obligation or duty to other people. Why would I go to a wake when I don't even know the person? Personally, I've never spent time with them in a significant way. I maybe know them in passing. I have no intimate understanding of who they are as a person. Yet here I am at a wake. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss. No, I'm not sorry for your loss. How can I be sorry for your loss when I don't even know the person? If I actually knew the person and I knew them intimately, I knew what they meant to you, then yes, maybe I'm in a position now to go to a wake and chat with the relevant people who are now left behind. But in general, people are going to wakes, and I know you're going to disagree with this, some of you folks, but you ask yourself, when you go to a wake, how intimately did you know the person who is deceased? Are you actually going to sincerely offload your condolences, whatever even that means? Are you even going to do that? Or are you going because, number one, you're bored out of your bollocks and you've nothing else to do? May as well go to a wake and I'll socialise at the wake. It's a big social event. Loads of people gather. People are eating food. They are in the living space of the deceased person and the family members of the deceased person. They're having great fun. They're talking. It's a big social outing. Maybe that's why you go to wakes. Or it's your principal motivation. Are you going to the wake because you want to get a look around the house? Because you're nosy? And then you can go and tell your friends and gossip and say, oh, well, I was at this wake today and I was in such and such house. Oh, and the house is like this and the house is like that. Oh, and they've got a lovely house, but the colour of this wall isn't to my preference. Oh, and I didn't like the way the kitchen was put together, but the living room was lovely. It was a great living space. You're a gossip. You go because you're looking news. You want to gossip. Is that why you also go to wakes? Or maybe you're going to the wake because it's out of absolute obligation. You don't even want to go. It's a pain in the hole that you have to go. But you're going on behalf of someone else. You don't even want to go. You are going out of duty and obligation to someone else other than the deceased person or the deceased person's relatives and family and friends. Obligation. It brings me back, folks. Remember we did our Christmas special about giving gifts? How many of you give gifts at Christmas because you actually really want to send a sincere signal of value to the other person? Or do you just send worthless, meaningless gifts because it makes you feel good because you haven't been investing in that person throughout the year? And so as a result, you get them this shitty gift that means nothing. It's not practically useful to the person. And then you bestow debt, a sort of psychological debt upon the person. Look, I got you a gift. Now you owe me. Even though my gift is shit, you owe me. And then we create this meaningless cycle of gift giving during the festive period. Wakes are the same. It's one big signal. Look, did you see me? I went to the wake of your husband. Now you owe me. When someone dies belonging to me, I expect to see you at my wake. Everybody's shoveling debt onto other people. And you know what, folks? About 10% of the people who go to wakes, in my experience, are actually there for the right reasons. 90% of people have some ulterior motive for being there. Whether it's because they are nosy, they are gossips, they're bored out of their bollocks, they are there out of obligation or duty, they are there because they want to put debt onto the other people of the deceased person. They want to show, look, see me, I came to your husband's wake. I came to your father's wake. Now you owe me. I did something for you. I came to your house and offered you some meaningless words. I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah. See you later now. Yeah, sorry for your loss. See you later. Oh, but now you owe me because I went to your wake. I showed my face. I didn't even want to be there. I was there because of some duty to some other person, out of some obligation. But now you owe me. Those are the 90% of people who I interacted with over the last 8 days. And if that pisses you off, I don't care. That is why I don't go to wakes, because it is basically people on autopilot. They are not present. They are there for the wrong reasons. And then, yes, you have the 10%, the small 10%, who are there for a genuine reason. They are present. And I did talk of that 10%. There were some great discussions that I had with those 10%. Some great discussions. There were some very genuine people who were there at my dad's wake because they wanted to be there. They wanted to be there for the right reasons. They were there for a sincere, authentic motivation. Their motivation was pure. And I really enjoyed talking with those people. But do I need to talk to them at a wake? I can talk to them at any time. Now, why am I saying all this? And the same thing applies for funerals before I move on. It's the same thing at the funeral. I met all of these random strangers. I've never seen them in my life. I don't know who they are as people. I don't know what they do. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss. What are you sorry about? What does that even mean? I am sorry for your loss. Think about that, folks. And maybe I'm being picky and unreasonable here, but think about it. I am sorry for your loss. What are you sorry about? Did you kill Mattie? Did you poison him without me knowing? Are you feeling guilty about something that you did that I don't know about? What are you sorry about? I'm sorry for your loss. Autopilot garbage. People aren't even thinking about what they're saying. It's just the culturally appropriate thing to say. I'm sorry for your loss. What are you sorry about? And then, yes, I'm sorry for your loss. And then they piss off. No sooner have they uttered the words, have they pissed off. They can't wait to get away. Oh, there we go. Box ticked. Oh, what have I got to do today? Oh, I need to go to Mattie Lennon's funeral today. Oh, and I need to go to Mattie Lennon's wake today. Oh, I'll tick that off the box. I'll go in and say I'm sorry for your loss. And then piss off back home and not think about it again. Because my family's okay. Everybody in my family's okay. I don't really care. I'm not there for the right reasons. So here I am at the funeral. All of these strangers who I do not know. Who are these people? Who are these people? They are strangers. It's the first time I've seen them in my life. And they are telling me they are sorry for my loss. Whatever that means. That makes about as much sense as when people say, I'm going to change in the new year. New Year's resolutions. It's the same garbage. Automated, autopilot garbage that people just say Meaningless words. They don't mean anything. And the people who are saying them are on autopilot. They are just doing what the culture demands of them, which is turn up, show their face, meet the son, meet the wife, say they're sorry, then go on about their own existence. This is why I never go to wakes or funerals, because all I ever see, the 90% of people who I meet, they are on autopilot, they are not present. They aren't even thinking about what they're doing. And they have some other motivation. Either they are bored, they are nosy, they are a gossip, they are there out of duty or obligation, not because they want to be there. Why would I want to be around people like this? Why would I be around people like this? I do not want to be around people like that. The people who I want to be around, if I am going to be around them, are the 10%. The 10% whose motivation is pure. Those people, I have no problem talking to those people at length. Because their motivation, the meaning for which they are there, is sincere. And I can feel that. I can hear that. I can see that. The other 90% fucking couldn't care. Piss off and leave me alone. And this is the reason why I don't even go to these things. I don't even want to put myself in a position where I have to deal with these people. I don't even want to deal with them. Just eliminate them from my existence. I only want to deal with the 10%. The 10% of people who are actually present and are there in the moment, speaking from the heart, if we want to use that kind of terminology. Their words carry weight. Their words carry feeling. Their words carry authenticity. That's who I want to be around, if I have to choose. Now, why am I saying all this? Why do I lay out the fact that I do not like wakes and I do not like funerals? And how does this relate to my dad's passing just over a week ago? Well, here's the first thing, folks. Here's the big lesson, the first big lesson from this morning's show. When you have someone you care about who passes, and you have the whole hullabaloo of the wake, all the hullabaloo of the funeral, please remember, folks, 90% of these people who you meet couldn't give a shit. They really couldn't. And they're going to mount. These people will mount an argument against me and say, I do give a shit. I do give a shit. You're making assumptions. You don't know what you're talking about. You haven't been to enough wakes. You've already admitted that, Mr. Bandido. You can live in the land of delusion, sir or madam. I trust my own eyes and I trust my own senses. Wakes and funerals, 90% in my experience of these people that we meet, they really don't care, folks. They are not your friends. And this is where I'm relating this back around to part 2. Remember your friends. Wakes and funerals, I understand why they exist. They exist for religious folk, for religious reasons, and they also exist as a means, in theory, for lifting the spirits of people who are left behind after the deceased person has passed on. I understand that. But please remember, folks, all of these people that you are meeting, they are not your friends. That doesn't mean they are bad people. And I'm not saying they are bad people. Most of that 90%, they are perfectly good humans. Nothing wrong with them. All I'm saying is that their motivation for being there isn't what it appears. And you don't want to fall into the trap of thinking that all of these people are actually your friends, and that if you're in a sticky spot, all of these people are going to bail you out. That would be a mistake. It's easy during a wake or a funeral to get caught surfing the crest of this euphoric wave of people meeting you, of all of these bodies, all of these ceremonies. It's easy to get seduced by all of this, by all of the apparent esteem that's being thrown your direction. And it's easy to get lured into this idea that all of these people that you've met across the wake period and during the funeral, that all these people are your friends. They are not, folks. They are not your friends. Doesn't make them bad people. Remember what a friend is, folks. We use the word very flippantly nowadays. And it probably doesn't help that social media has come into the equation. Let me tell you something interesting, folks, that has happened to me over the last few days. I have a Facebook profile. I never use it. The only reason that I have a Facebook profile is because I was doing some work, some social media work with some businesses on Facebook, uploading content. And in order for me to do that, I needed a Facebook profile in order to actually log in to these business accounts. So I needed a Facebook profile. So I created one. Now, in the last few days, I never use Facebook. I'm not active at all on my profile. It simply exists as a means for me to get onto the platform to help some businesses with their social media stuff. What has happened in the last few days? Me, who has absolutely no followers on Facebook, I'm not even active. I've got all of these strangers sending me friend requests. Oh, I wonder why they are sending me friend requests now. What has happened in the last 8 days that would make them send a friend request to me now? It wouldn't have anything to do with the fact that my dad has just passed away. Why are these people sending me a friend request? I don't even know who they are. What are they looking from me? Because you know what, folks? They are looking something. They're after something. Oh, you're very cynical, Mr. Bandido. It's a very cynical way to look at the world. It's not cynical. Why did these people not send me a friend request before my dad died? Why are they sending it now? They're sending it for what reason? A friend request. These people are not my friends. They are just people that exist in the online space, in the digital medium that we call social media. They're not my friends. They are people that I might know. People who I may not know either. There's a difference between a friend and people who you know. Sure, I know a lot of people. Of course, I know lots of people. I've got barely any friends. Barely any friends. Probably I can count on one hand how many friends I have. But I know a lot of people. I met a lot of people over the last 8 days. But when the shit hits the fan, and the wake and the hullabaloo of the wake and funeral all dissipates into the ether, where are these people? Where are you now, people? Your friends, folks. Remember who your friends really are. And yes, when you have a wake and you have a funeral, you meet lots of people. And you may meet a lot of people who you know. But that doesn't mean they are your friends. It also doesn't mean that they are bad people. It just means they aren't your friends. They may masquerade as a friend or someone who's more valuable to you than what you think. But the big thing that we take away from part 2 of this series is that when we have wakes and we have funerals, we can get swept up in the hullabaloo of it all of this apparent esteem coming our direction, all of the attention that comes with a wake, all of these people that I met. It's like you're a famous person. It's like you're a celebrity. All these people coming up and shaking your hand. Oh, you must be Mattie's son. Oh, you look like Mattie. I'm sorry for your loss. It's like you're a celebrity for a few days. And then when the few days pass, your celebrity status disappears like a fart in the wind. And then it's back to square one again. And when you're back to square one, you have a look around and see, who are my comrades in the trenches when I would really need to go to war? Who are my people? Are my people those folks who came in and said, I'm sorry for your loss, and then pissed off out the door? Are your comrades the people who came to your wake or funeral of your loved one out of obligation or duty, or because they are a gossip, or because they're looking to have a look around your house, or because they are looking news so they can go and tell their friends, or because they're bored out of their bollocks and they've nothing else to do? Are those your comrades who you're going to go to war with when the shit hits the fan? Wakes and funerals, they have their place in society. If you are highly religious, and perhaps you're one of these people who may struggle in the immediate aftermath of an important death in your life, I can of course see the value in a wake. For religious purposes, and from the perspective of an immediate lift. Of course I understand that. Same with a funeral, all of this stuff. But don't be deluded, folks. All these people that you will meet at such an event, or across a series of such events, please be aware that according to the Bandido, 90% of these people are not who you think they are. It doesn't mean they are bad people, but they are not your friends. Because we're going to be very literal about what a friend really is here. A friend is someone who truly values you, and a friend is someone who will offer you insurance should something go tits up in your existence. They will be there in the trenches with you, willing to help, no matter what. That is what a friend is, a true friend. How many people, when we go to wakes and funerals, fulfill that criteria? Not a lot. 10% at best. I think I'm being generous saying 10%. And so whenever something like this happens, folks, and it doesn't even have to be a death, you can apply this to your life in general. Please remember, folks, who your true friends are. You may meet a lot of people in your life. You may know a lot of people. You may have a lot of followers online. You may have friend requests coming on Facebook. But we've talked about this before, folks, on Bandido Talks. The show is called Bandido Talks. And here's the great irony in that name. talk is cheap. Talk is meaningless without action that backs it up. I can say all sorts of things to all sorts of different people. I can make promises, verbal promises about this, that, or the other. But if I don't back up what I'm saying with legitimate action, the words are meaningless. And this is why I'm being so, we could say, critical of this garbage. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss. Empty autopilot words that are flowing out of the mouth of someone whose brain is somewhere else. Empty talk. It's cheap talk. It's culturally appropriate talk that fits the scene. And anybody who is giving you cheap talk, and how do you know if someone's talk is cheap or if someone's talk is garbage? Look at their actions. Do their actions back up their words? Because you see, if their actions ain't backing up their words, they are full of shit. And they ain't the people that you think they are. And so when you're in trouble, there's no point in going to those people, because they have given you evidence in the past that their talk is cheap and it doesn't mean anything. And they aren't going to back up their words with legitimate action. Now, there are 10% of people across the last week that I have seen with my own eyes back up their words with actions. Those people have my respect. And those are people who I am far more prone to interacting with willingly. In this circumstance, I was reluctantly interacting with people. Why? Well, I've already said, because my mother is someone who I do value. Not because she's my mother. We talked about this yesterday. I know there's a genetic bond. She is my biological mother. That is true. But as I said yesterday when I was talking about Mattie being my biological father, my mother has to earn my respect. My father, Mattie, he had to earn my respect too. Both of them have to earn my admiration. And you see, if they don't, I don't care if they are my biological mother or father. I ain't hanging out with them. But you see, this is the thing. My mother has earned my respect. She has earned my admiration. She's my friend. She's one of the very few friends that I have. And so as a result, why was I even at the wake or the funeral of my father? I was there because I was signaling to my friend, one of my very few friends that I have. I was signaling and saying, look, I don't normally do these things, but I'm going to do this for you because I know it means something to you. So my signal was for her. It was directed to her. And I didn't just tell her. I didn't just talk. I backed up my talk with action. I went there and I actually did stuff that made her happy across the wake and across the funeral. My actions backed up my words. I wasn't full of shit. When I committed to doing this, I said, I'm going to give my best. Now that I've committed, I'm going to do my best. You will see through my actions. I don't even need to say anything to you. You will see through my actions if I'm full of shit or not. And that is what we want to remember here, folks. When we have wakes and we have funerals or we have events in general, people will say a lot of stuff. And you will know a lot of people. But remember, folks, just because you know someone, that doesn't mean they are your friend. That doesn't mean that they are a warrior who will go to the trenches with you whenever the shit hits the fan in your own life. It doesn't mean any of that at all. How do you know that you have a true friend? How do you know that you have someone who will be a genuine insurance policy for you? That when something goes wrong in your life, or whenever you need assistance with someone, that person will be there in the trenches alongside you, fighting the good war. How do you know this? It's very simple, folks. Listen to what they say and watch what they do. And if you see a contradiction between the two, then you should be revising the friend status that you are allocating to this person. If you have someone who is saying one thing, but their actions are not in accordance or in agreement with their words, then you have a bullshitter on your hands. And you have someone who is very likely to exploit you and to take more from you than what you are giving to them. That means you're being exploited. And trust me, folks, in a circumstance like this, when you have a very significant death that happens in your life, you will have people who will be sniffing around to exploit those who are involved. They will try to give signals that they are friends. They will try to masquerade as something they are not. And how do we sniff these people out? Sure, listen to what they say. All right, you're saying this. Well, let's see your actions. Do your actions fall in agreement with your words? And this is why it's so important to remember your friends, folks. Throughout the last 8 or 9 days, I have met a whole bunch of people. Lots of people. I've shaken hands with a lot of people. A lot of these people I know, a lot of them I do not know. I have never seen them before. And always remember, folks, just because you know someone, that doesn't mean they are your friend. Just because someone follows you on social media, that doesn't mean they are your friend. Just because someone sends you a friend request, that doesn't mean they are your friend. And don't fall into the trap of getting swept up in the hullabaloo, all the attention, the celebrity-like status that comes from the passing of someone who is as well known as Mattie Lennon. Because you become the center of attention all of a sudden. And it's funny because it feels good. It feels good, doesn't it? When you've got thousands of people coming into your house, shaking your hand and putting the spotlight on you. As I've already said, it's like you are a celebrity. It's very seductive and addictive, actually. And what you don't want to do is get seduced by all of this, because 90% of these people who you are talking to do not care really about your circumstances. That doesn't make them bad people. But remember, folks, everybody in this life is fighting their own battles. They have their own life to live. They have their own things to do. And if you think that you are the center of everybody else's universe, you are a dipshit. You go into the dipshit category. Because reality check, you are not the center of the universe for most people. All of these people that you are meeting at wakes and funerals, I'm sorry for your loss. Oh, it's Tara, isn't it? It's Tara that Mattie has died. What's for dinner tonight? Chinese tonight, folks. Let's go have some celebrations. And then a week later, nobody's thinking about it. And so this is the thing. That doesn't make these people bad people. It makes you a dipshit for thinking that you are the center of the universe of these people. These people do not have you at the center of their universe. And if you fall into the trap that comes from wakes and funerals and all of the attention and all of the status and all of the esteem and all of the celebrity-like behavior that's being directed towards you, if you fall for this, folks, and you think, oh, look at all these people, these are my friends, they are not your friends. They are just people that you know. They are just people who live their own lives, have their own motivations and their own things to do. They may not even be there for a sincere, honest reason. There are only 10% of people who will be there, who are actually there for the deceased person, who are actually there for you, who at least qualify as a friend potentially, as someone that you would want to have beside you in the trenches. 90% are just there. They just exist in the moment. They are not your friend. And you're an idiot if you think they are. Because, reality check, the universe owes you nothing. And reality check, you are not the center of the universe for these people. When they come into your house and talk to you at the wake and see you at the funeral, they are thinking about you literally in the moment. They are probably on autopilot, even at that, but they are there in the moment, and as soon as they leave, the big important questions in their lives come up, which is, what's for dinner tonight? It's back to life again. And that doesn't make them bad people. It's just you don't understand the nature of what a friend really is. And you perhaps don't understand what's really happening at a wake or a funeral. And if you don't understand, you could be living in the land of the delusional. You could be thinking that you've got more friends than what you think you have. And then when the shit hits the fan, what happens? Well, your expectations are violated all of a sudden. And what happens when your expectations are violated unexpectedly? You get caught by surprise. And when you're caught by surprise, what does that mean? That means you aren't prepared. And what happens when you're not prepared? You are now prone, or you're at more risk of exploitation. You're at more risk of errors, future errors that you're going to commit, because you aren't prepared. You should be getting it very clear in your mind, folks. Who are your comrades? It's very important to remember your friends. And when you have a circumstance like I've been through over the last 8 days, you meet all these people. Some of them are complete strangers. Some of them you just know. And what you don't want to do is start diverting attention and energy away from the legitimate 10% towards this 90% who don't give a shit. That's the mistake. The mistake would be you forget who your real friends are, and you get swept up in all the attention, all the celebrity-like status of the moment. And you start directing your time and attention to people that don't give a shit when it really comes down to crunch time. They don't care. And what do you end up doing? You forget about the legitimate people whose actions are in agreement with their words, who walk the walk and talk the talk. You forget about them when it's actually them, those people, who are really your comrades, or who at least qualify to potentially become a friend or a comrade. Do not fall into that trap. Please remember who your friends are. And I will repeat it one more time. How do you know who your friends are? Because you may be saying, because you dipshits are probably not listening at this stage of the live stream. So I'll repeat it again. How do I know? How do I know who my friends are? It's simple. Listen to what people have to say. Listen. Listen carefully. Don't be on autopilot like an idiot. Listen. Listen to what they say. And then, when you've listened to what someone has to say, observe the action that follows their words. And if their actions are at odds with their words, you now have someone who does not qualify. Swipe left. Isn't that what they say on the dating apps? You didn't qualify. To even qualify, to even be in the hat of friendship, you should see when someone, you should hear firstly, listen to the person, listen carefully, hear what it is they have to say, be fair, hear them out, and then watch and observe. Do we have legitimate action that follows the words? Are the words and the actions in agreement? And if they are, then they qualify to potentially become a friend or comrade. But if the words and the actions are at odds, they should be disqualified. Because, folks, we have a finite amount of time and energy on this planet. You do not want to waste time, energy, and attention on people who are full of shit, whose talk is cheap, whose actions don't back up their words. Why are you wasting your time on these people? You are the idiot for wasting time. It's not that they are bad people. You are an idiot for wasting your time on them. And that's the big lesson that we take from part 2. Remember who your friends are, folks. When times are good and times are bad, you are going to meet a lot of people. You're going to talk to a lot of people. You are going to know a lot of people. But just because you meet a lot of people or talk to a lot of people or know a lot of people, that doesn't mean they are your friends or your comrades who will join you in the trenches whenever war comes knocking on the door. It doesn't mean that at all. And you need to be selective. It doesn't mean you're cynical. It just means you're paying attention. You are guarding the thing that is most precious to all of us, which is our time and our attention and our energy. We could bundle them all into one. You should be so careful about how you are using your time, energy, and attention. They are the most precious things that you have in this life. And if you do have true friends, why are you diverting time, energy, and attention away from them to nobodies who do not give a shit about what's happening in your life? They just turn up and say, I'm sorry for your loss. Whatever that means. So remember your friends. It's extremely important because when times are tough, the 90% of people who are full of shit and whose talk is cheap and who do not have legitimate action to back up their words, those people will be nowhere to be seen whenever you really need assistance, when you really need insurance, when you really need a comrade. They ain't going to be anywhere to be seen. Start with the 10%. And I'm not saying that the whole 10% automatically gets a bye-ball. No, but that's where you start. You start by looking at people whose words and actions are in agreement. They are in harmony. That's where you start. And then you go through a process. Because everybody's going to have their strengths and limitations. Certain people will be more valuable to other people than they are to you, and vice versa. But you need to at least start with the 10%, because the 10% at least have the raw attributes to at least potentially qualify as a true friend and comrade. That's where you start. And then you guard your time, energy, and attention because they're finite. And someday you'll have no more of them left. So you don't want to be wasting them while you're here now, living on this planet. That's the big lesson from part 2. I've got no problem with wakes, people going to wakes, people going to funerals. I don't like them. But I'm not some tyrannical government who's going to tell you what you have to do with your life. Do whatever you want. If you like wakes and funerals and you like going to them frequently, how about it? But if you are watching this show and you're actually interested in potentially trying to learn from someone else's experience over the last 8 days, then please bear in mind that most people you know do not qualify as a real friend. Doesn't make them bad people, it's just your expectations and your criteria for actually assessing people is completely skewy. And it's you who needs to control that. That's a controllable. You can run a thorough assessment to guard your time, energy, and attention and make sure that your time, energy, and attention is not being exploited by people who do not have your best interests at heart. They fall into the 90%. Start with the 10%. At least they have the raw attributes for a potential friendship. Words should be in agreement with actions. If somebody's telling you something, folks, watch and see what they do. Because we can all say anything. It's like a CV. CVs are the greatest pile of shit that I've ever seen. It's just words on a page. Anybody can write words on a page. I could say that I'm an astronaut. I work with SpaceX and I was up on the moon last week. That's what I could write on my CV. It means nothing unless there is legitimate action and evidence to back up the claim. CVs are useless. And cheap talk is also useless. We can say anything. You can say anything. You can make any sort of promise to anyone. If there is no action to back up the words, then that person is full of shit. And they are not worthy of your time, energy, and attention. Move on and find someone else who qualifies. There are plenty of people on the planet. There's a good pool of people to select from. Find the right ones and make sure that your time, energy, and attention is not being exploited by people who really don't give a shit. All right, so that is part 2, and I think it is now time to go to the live chat. Let's have a look and see what you guys are saying about the show. How many of you have I pissed off? Let's have a look in the live chat. Let's see. Let's get things set up here and make sure that everything is working as it should be. Now, let me have a look and see. It always takes a little while to get the live chat up and going. Now let's have a look. And it looks like we've got one comment, one live chatter. Who do we have? We've got Tuco. Tuco is back in the live chat. I should have expected that Tuco would perhaps get motivated to write something in because of this show. Tuco has frequently commented on our political shows when we've done them. So it's going to be interesting to see I'm interested to see what Tuco's going to say. Let's read out what Tuco has to say. He says the following: a true friend will say a prayer for you. With an emoji with a little halo over its head. A true friend will say a prayer for you. Okay, so look. If you are extremely religious, that will have some significance to you. Saying a prayer. For the Bandido, prayer does not qualify as action. I need to say, this is just for me. I'm speaking completely personally. I can't tell if someone has said a prayer for me. Unfortunately, I cannot perceive prayer. So someone might tell me that they've said a prayer for me, but I can't verify if that's actually true or not. I have to take their word for it. And that's all well and good. But for me, that doesn't qualify as action. Action is something that I can actually see and perceive. So if someone says to me, I said a prayer for you, that doesn't qualify as action for me. And the reason why is because I can't verify if what it is that they are saying to me is actually true. I don't know how much feeling, even if they did say it, I don't know how much feeling they put into it. I wasn't there. I couldn't see them literally carrying out the action of the prayer. And because I don't have the ability to perceive prayer here in the universe, I can't verify it. And so for all I know, that person could be full of shit. You're very cynical, Mr. Bandido. Can you not just take people's word for it? No, I cannot do that. That's the very reason why I'm saying what I'm saying. People whose talk is cheap, if you just take their word for it, you get exploited, potentially. And you fall into the trap of dedicating time, energy, and attention to someone who's full of shit. That's exactly what I'm saying. Action. We need to see and perceive action. We need evidence that the person's words are not empty garbage. And if someone says to me, well, I said a prayer for you, I am sorry to inform you, but I cannot verify your claim. You may have carried out the action. You may not have carried out the action. I don't know. I'm having to take your word for it. And folks, that is the exact essence of what I am saying you should not do. You shouldn't just take people's word for it. If you're really looking for a true friend, you shouldn't just be taking their word for it. You should be able to see action that backs up what it is they are saying. Because it's only when you see the action that you can actually legitimize what it is that they are saying. Otherwise, they could be full of hot air. And so, yes, someone may be saying a prayer for me. And good on them. If that makes them feel good, fine. But if somebody thinks by telling me that they've said a prayer and that somehow qualifies them in some significant way for friendship, that ain't going to fly. I need to see action. I need to be able to perceive that their words are not full of shit. And that requires me to get sensory information from the environment. I need to see and perceive with my own eyes and senses that what they are saying, they actually mean it. So I understand what Tuco is saying. Maybe Tuco is being a little sarcastic. Maybe he isn't. I don't know. But Tuco says a true friend will say a prayer for you, with an emoji with a blue halo over its head. I want action. That's what I want. I don't know what you want. Maybe you have different criteria for what makes a friend. But if you're watching this show, I'm assuming you are watching it because you want to hear what the Bandido has to say. From the Bandido's perspective, I want to eliminate the 90% of people who are full of shit. And I want to be able to whittle down, to narrow down, to the 10% of people who may qualify for a legitimate friendship, who I can call genuine comrades. That's what I want. I want to deal with the 10%. I want to get rid of 90% of the noise. And so for me, a true friend is someone who backs up their words with action. And for me, Tuco, saying a prayer does not qualify as action. It may be a thoughtful thing to do. They may have done it. They may not have done it. I don't know. That's the point. And people are sometimes very sincere, and sometimes people are signaling, and they are deceptive, and they tell porky pies. And the only way to separate the wheat from the chaff is to observe them in action. Watch their actions and see, are their actions in accordance with their words? Now we have someone, if they fulfill that criteria, that overall criteria of backing up their words with action, now they are in the hat. Their name is in the hat for potential friendship. Why do I not just automatically give it to them? Because my time, energy, and attention is very valuable, folks. And so they are going to have to, just like Mattie, just like my recently deceased father, and just like my mother, and just like everybody else who I would qualify, or who qualifies as a friend to me, just like all of those people, they have to earn my respect and admiration. How the hell do you think they do that? They do it through their actions. And their actions back up their words. And the final thing I would say on this is, throughout this process with Mattie, most of the medical people who Mattie dealt with were full of shit. Full of shit. 90% of people were full of shit. They said things and their actions did not back up what it was that they were saying. But there were 10% of people who, whenever I got in contact with them, and when Mattie got in contact with them, they were comrades. They passed the threshold for which we were going to qualify them as not just legitimate medical people who could help us, but actual friends, people who I would meet up with and use my time, energy, and attention and devote it to them. There were 10% of people, and they know who they are. They know who they are because I've already told them. They already know. I have already told them. They know what I think of them. The oncologists that I was talking about yesterday, the pieces of shit retard oncologists that we dealt with, into the 90%, piss off. Don't want to deal with you. But there were 10% of people throughout this process with Mattie, this last 18 months, whenever we needed to go to war for Mattie's cancer battle, these 10% of medical people, and some of them weren't even medical people either. They were just people who weren't officially qualified, but they were in the medical sphere, the medical world. those 10% were absolute comrades and friends to Mattie and to us, his closest family and friends. And it is those people who I want to associate with, and they know who they are. Perhaps some of them are watching this right now. I will meet up with them again. I will continue to interact with them. I will continue to devote my time, energy, and attention towards these people. Because they earned my respect and my admiration. And they also earned Mattie's respect and admiration. How did they do that? Because they told us something and their actions backed up their words. It was that simple, folks. And then with a little more exposure, with a few more interactions, you got to know them and you got to realize what exceptional humans they are. In other words, they passed the test. So Tuco, saying a prayer isn't going to cut it with the Bandido. Not in the context in which we are talking here. I understand from a religious perspective, that's different. I'm not talking specifically religion here. I'm just talking about how we can decipher, separate the wheat from the chaff. And saying a prayer does not fall into the category of action that can be perceived, that can be observed. So anyway, that seems to be our only live chat. Coming from Tuco, let me just have a check here and see to make sure that I haven't missed anybody else. That seems to be the whole pile. And so that will bring our show this morning. Well, it's actually the afternoon now. But that brings our show to a close. Part 2. Remember your friends. And remember how to decipher who potentially qualifies as a friend. Very important stuff, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show. We are, of course, engaged at the moment here with a special 3-part series. When Your Dad Dies, we are reflecting on the recent passing of the Bandido's father just over a week ago, the great Mattie Lennon. We're going to extract lessons from this particular event. Of course, as I said yesterday, folks, you can't just give it the big one whenever things are going good. When things aren't going so good, there are also lessons in the not so good. In the Bandido's life, this would qualify as a circumstance in which it's not so good. The Bandido has lost a friend, someone who he cares about. But there are lessons. And so we are on here trying to dish out some of the lessons that can be learned from this circumstance. That is part 2. Again, if you enjoyed the show, folks, feel free to give us a like or a thumbs up. If you are watching, of course, after the live event has concluded, get down into the comments, let me know what you thought about everything that we chatted about on this show. And then finally, folks, if you like what we're doing here at Bandido Talks, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Lots of content coming your direction. Remember, folks, the Bandido is live on 2 different platforms. From Monday to Thursday, he is live on Rumble. You will see it up above. There's a little red banner, live on Rumble, Monday to Thursday. You will be able to find, let's just say, you will be able to find the Bandido on Rumble if you check the little black banner below. The Bandido is also live here on YouTube, Monday through to Sunday. Again, you can see it up above on the red banner at 11 a.m. And again, YouTube, you will find all the details down below on the little black banner. If you want to find the Bandido's YouTube channel, every week we are going to do 7 live shows, Monday to Sunday. As I've already said, Monday to Thursday is live on Rumble. Friday to Sunday is live on YouTube. Lots of content coming your direction. But that essentially draws our show to a close, folks. We're ready to go on, get busy, get productive with the rest of our day. Feel free to join me tomorrow for our final part of this special series, When Your Dad Dies. Part 3 will be broadcasting live tomorrow at 11 a.m. Irish time here on YouTube. I hope you can join me then, conclude our series. Lots of lessons to be extracted. It'll be a really good show tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed our show today, throughout the morning and afternoon. And with all of that said, folks, it is over and out from the Bandido.